Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Recap. I hope it has been a very, very good trading week for you as we've seen a number of stocks come back from the dead. Netflix, Potash, where else? GMCR, some of the symbols we talked about this week. There's been a whole bunch of them. Some of the rare earth symbols, MCP, RE. So you've had some very good select individual stock trades this week. It is a very quiet market. We're going to take a look. So let's go over to our trusty charts over here. This is a weekly of the spiders, and it gives us a good sort of overall macro landscape. We can go back in time and we can talk about how volatile the market's been, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Really, really intense volatility, not a lot of follow through. But I think what's happening here, that really the point I want to drive home is, look at the last 3 weeks of trading here. So this is the end of the year into the first 2 weeks of this year. You can see these candlesticks, very, very small in size. The body of the candlestick is, we're opening and closing not too far off each other from a Monday to a Friday. It's telling us that we are contracting. And where this goes, I guess remains to be seen. Volume continues to just become lower and lower. This isn't what we really want to see if we're going to really get into some sort of heavy rally leg. Instead of rallying off of declining volume, you really want to see a rally get sparked off of some intense volume. That's what will drive us. This is a slow, sort of creeping market. It's almost I don't want to speculate, but it's eerie. We can take a look at the daily, and we have to respect the fact that price is going up. Even today, we started off with a gap down. We saw price try to drive lower, and we tailed back up at the later part of the day, maintaining this bullish sort of undertone. But like I said, the market not making gains. We look at last week, the better part of the end of December, sideways. The beginning of January, sideways. The better part of this week, sideways. So not really seeing that thrust or that momentum, buyers stepping in, big volume surge, markets powering higher. And there are a number of stocks. The main one I think we need to watch is, like I said earlier, is this IBM. And IBM, held this pivot low. You can see this prior pivot right here. We held that low today, a little bit of a tail up, but we tailed up yesterday, and again, still going lower here. I think IBM needs to be observed, not necessarily traded. It did take out that key support level that I mentioned yesterday in the morning call, and again in the recaps, and it was in off the charts as well. I think this is an indicator, not necessarily a trade. It could be a trade if you want to trade IBM, but it's also something that I think needs to be watched. It's a bellwether tech stock. It has decent level of support down here. You can see it held, back here. It held here, and it tailed up again here today. But we might see a 1 or 2 day bounce here. But I do think eventually we could push lower, as there is a true divergence here as the market. And I'll go back to this IBM chart. As the market is creeping higher, this stock is creeping lower. That is a clear-cut divergence. And we like to see these bellwether stocks trade in line with the market. Apple today, very interesting. Not much to talk about, but as far as the daily chart of Apple goes, really tight range. Very, very small range for Apple. I think the range today was not even $2 intraday. You rarely ever see that. Is that a contraction? A little bit of a contraction here before the expansion. I guess we'll find out. Into the average here, I like this. This is probably a place a lot of people are, money's looking to maybe get put to work. So we'll keep an eye on that into next week. Netflix, another one we talked about in the morning call. A pullback here. You can see the stock pulled back. Where'd my chart go? Sorry. Into that rising average, and was a buy for the better part of the morning. Kind of came off a little bit towards the middle to later part of the day, but money getting put to work, definitely against yesterday's low, a trade we talked about. And I think one that we also mentioned, I mentioned this morning, was Potash. Something to keep an eye on, sort of that junk off the bottom theme that I've been hammering all week. Not to say these stocks are junk, they just haven't really performed in a long time, and sort of have been left for dead, haven't really been go-to trading stocks, haven't really made anybody any money in quite some time, and I'm going to put this one in that category. Definitely trying to break out here, this potash. I think we could see a trade next week, like I said, up into this prior resistance zone, the 48 to 50 level. We'll monitor early next week, but we got that rise today. Here's a 15-minute chart. You can see really pushing that 44 mark, which was, had acted as resistance somewhere between 43.80 and 44. Pushing, volume increasing here on the breakout, which is always a good sign. Any short-term pullback here, I think, into 44 or 43, 43 and a half to 44 is probably a place to step in for a long for a cash flow trade. So be very, very selective with what you look at next week. I think there's definitely some trades out there on a, like I said, an individual stock basis. There are some clear-cut divergences here. There are some warning signs. There are stocks that are seriously underperforming. And then there are stocks that are performing very, very nicely. So you have to pick and choose your battles and pick and choose them wisely, and really narrow your focus right now. I think there'll be times later in the year, a month, 2 months, 3 months, who knows, from now, where we can have, we can say, listen, it's time to put money to work here. The markets are working for us. There's volume, there's interest, there's enthusiasm, whether it's up or down, that, we'll be able to do more. I think right now it's a trade of do less, but the ones you do, that are actionable, make sure you understand those trades and the risks associated with those trades pretty clearly. There is opportunity in this market. I can't say there isn't. It's just, like I said, selectivity is your friend right now. Until things change, be selective. It's going to be a path of where you're going to take on the least amount of risk. And that's really, the best way to sum up the whole week and sort of the whole trading environment as it stands right now. As always, I hope it was a great week trading. Enjoy your 3-day weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday, and Scott will be here for the morning call. Take care, everybody.